but it's really just like, how do I feel about myself? Like, do I feel like I'm chasing things that I want to? Do I feel like a person that is really kind of self-actualization, like really doing the things that I know make me feel alive, make me feel like a person, make me feel like I'm chasing things that bring a positive force into the world or into my life. So I think with ACN, our main goal isn't to, get the numbers or like, oh, we're going to teach you how to be like the next, whatever, like you're going to be on the next set of Crazy Rich Asians or something like that. But it's more, how can I connect you with people and connect you with opportunities where you can, maybe it might be small, maybe, to the world it's not going to be much, but then to you it's something important and it's something that's worthwhile in doing.
So welcome to the episode of Navigating Rise. Today I have Han Ju Seo. So she is the founder of Asian Creative Network with 30 to 50,000 people on the platform. So I'll let Han Ju briefly introduce herself before we move forward.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. So my name is Han Ju. Like you said, I'm a current senior at Washington University in St. Louis, studying psychology of all things. Like you said before, I'm the founder of Asian Creative Network, which is an online Facebook group that is dedicated to bringing community and networking to Asian creatives all over the world. I created it because I wanted to create a space for Asian creatives, and I think that it has been a really crazy ride. So I'm excited to talk about it here.
Yeah, sure. I'm very curious about, first of all, normally, what prompted you to even create that in the first place? You mentioned briefly a little bit in your intro, but just out of curiosity, why that even came about?
For sure. So I guess if we're digging real deep, so my background has always been kind of in the creatives. Particularly, it's kind of like a family lineage because my mom actually used to be an opera singer before she became
Oh,
a mom. So in Korea, she was an opera singer, and but when she decided to move to America to immigrate here and become a stay-at-home mom and grow a family, she decided to kind of quit that. She tried to keep continuing by joining choirs or trying out, but it never really worked out for her. And so I think there was already a sense of, for her, like her creative dreams kind of dying, her trying to push us away from her, the creatives, because she saw herself how she sort of failed in that aspect and didn't bring in money, all those sort of things. And so, yeah, kind of having that family background, but also all three of my siblings being very interested in the arts, having a ton of friends that are in the arts, I think it all just sort of encouraged me and led me to this place where I thought, like, yeah, why can't Asians have these sort of opportunities? Like, why do we have to be in this like very strange space? Like, can we not chase after the things that we want to do? Can we find a community? Can we band together? And when like the subtle Asian traits wave started coming in around a year and a half ago, right? Like that whole craziness happened. I decided in that place to ask people about it. I just made one post in it where I was like, hey, where's all the creatives? Like, let's talk, let's like chat, let's exchange Instagrams. Like, I want to hear your stories. And within 10 minutes, there was like hundreds of comments and hundreds of people being like, oh my God, I'm an Asian creative, I'm a graphic designer, I'm a UX UI, whatever. And that's where I was like, okay, like there's an opportunity here, let's jump on it. So I made the group, had no idea what I was doing, but first day, 9,000 people joined. So
whoa.
that's where I was like, dang, maybe my story isn't so, so foreign. Maybe my story is something that a lot of people share. Maybe not exactly this story, but the kind of immigrant story of having parents that want you to have success and, this kind of weird cultural identity of like,
Yeah, success and stability, right?
like chasing your dreams, doing things you want to do, better life, like all the things that we know are very nuanced and complex. It seems that, yeah, a lot of people in ACN definitely feel that message. Mhm.
Cool. Yeah, so I'm also curious, you mentioned about earlier you just mentioned that about not failing in that initiatives, how that I'm curious about how do you envision not failing, because in my mind, creatives is very easy to get in, but it's very hard to master. So what I consider barrier to entry is very low. Everyone can just do it, right? But to do it well and to have that thing, it's only a few of them. So I'm
Mhm.
curious about how does that tie into your trying not to fail in this endeavor look like?
Yeah, for sure. So I think it really depends on your kind of definition of failure, right? It definitely very much varies. Like, oh, it also depends on what your definition of success is. So I think for like the reason why she thought her own career was a failure was because she wasn't able to provide financially for her family. You know, she kind of came to this new country with only a music major, and she felt that yeah, she just couldn't really do things for me and my sister and my brother growing up. But I think in terms of my own definition of success and failure, I think that I like to take a little bit more of a community aspect of failure and success. Not necessarily like, oh, how many stickers can I sell or how much money can I make or how many listeners a week, but it's really just like, how do I feel about myself? Like, do I feel like I'm chasing things that I want to? Do I feel like a person that is really kind of self-actualization, you know, like really doing the things that I know make me feel alive, make me feel like a person, make me feel like I'm chasing things that bring a positive force into the world or into my life. So I think with ACN, our main goal isn't to, you know, get the numbers or like, oh, we're gonna teach you how to be like the next, you know, whatever, like you're gonna be on the next set of Crazy Rich Asians or something like that. But it's more, how can I connect you with people and connect you with opportunities where you can, maybe it might be small, maybe, you know, to the world it's not gonna be much, but then to you it's something important and it's something that's worthwhile in doing.
Cool. And you also mentioned briefly about you and your sisters all had an interest in the arts area. I'm curious about yours. You mentioned you're majoring in psychology, but
Mhm.
just want to think a little bit deeper on that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I like to think of myself as kind of a jack of all trades is not the right word. It's more just like I like to put my tentacles in all trades, and so I love like growing up. I always was really into crafting. I think physical manipulation of objects is always in my thing. So ceramics, like sculpture, crafting, painting. I was really into sewing for a while, so I would sew for hours and hours, like dresses, my own shirts, et cetera, et cetera. I yeah, loved recently trying to get into digital art. I also really like creative problem solving, and so just thinking of like innovative ways to look at new problems and kind of fix new things. So in that aspect, I've always loved just sitting in a room and like doing things with my hands and like putting things together and like be it like puzzles or like IKEA furniture or like working with clay or anything like that. I think that's where a lot of my part is. And for my sister, she loves cooking. She, yeah, is definitely more into cooking, writing, photography. My little brother loves animation and gaming now. That's very much like the 12-year-old boy space of like anime gaming, you know, all that sort of stuff, which is really cute. But yeah, so I think in general, like all of our interests have always been in something more creative than yeah, anything practical.
Interesting.
Mhm.
So because I I don't like to do things with my hands. I like
Really?
daydream. I like to daydream. So I like more abstract kind of creative stuff as opposed to the tangible where you can move things with your hands, if that makes
Mm.
sense.
No, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very interesting because when it comes to building stuff, I remember when I was taking a music class, I couldn't, we're supposed to make a musical instrument.
Mhm.
So I chose to make a guitar, right? Out of wood and everything. And I had a hard time, really hard time making it work. I
Yeah.
had a lot of people help me. And even then, it was still bad.
Mhm.
But yeah,
No, for yeah, I think that speaks into how we all have different creative outlets, right? Like definitely, you know, if I tried to like draw like anything, I would fail miserably at it. Like drawing, you know, sketching is definitely not my strength, but when it comes to like building things, we need both. Like every creative endeavor needs multiple different sides of creative thought. So for sure there's a space for everyone.
yeah. Also, you mentioned about the animation and the
Mhm.
creativeness. So I feel like now with the Korean wave, there's now a counterpart. So all the guys going to animation, I'm being stereotypical here. Most of the guys going to animation, and most of the girls going to K-pop. So when I go to like anime events, right, I see a lot more guys. When I go to like Korea K-pop event like KCON, etc., a lot more girls.
Mhm.
So it's just very interesting how the two different aspects are actually targeting two different.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Mhm. For sure, yeah. No, I think it's yeah, the whole like K-pop wave has been definitely super interesting to track for me because my K-pop phase was like years ago, back in like 2012 when I was in 6th grade, and so like watching it all unfold right now, I think I can definitely see where like it's definitely like a lot of guys like it, but I think there's a lot of specifically targeted for like younger fangirls, but
Yes.
in general, a lot of fan service, a lot of stuff is like kind of more gendered in that way. But I mean, maybe that's a study that should be done in some point in the future.
Yeah, actually, one of the biggest demographics, the targets, actually teenage females, teenage
Mm.
girls.
Oh
That's
yeah.
where most of the sales come from, and I
Mhm,
never understood why until I got to talk to one of them. And
mhm.
then literally, anytime like the favorite group comes out with merchandise, they buy it. They buy
Yeah.
everything.
Oh yeah.
Everything. I was like, wait, what? Everything's yeah. I will have to buy everything. I don't know how that gets transplanted into their mind, whatever. But it just seems like wow, like it, they are like very dedicated.
Oh yeah. No, I was definitely one of those in the past. So I
Oh,
get that for sure. I was one of those like buy everything, every app, every like new song that came out, every album. I was like on it.
wait,
I don't.
tell me more. I'm so confused about that.
Yeah, I think it was a sense of feeling like you had like they liked like K-pop is really interesting because I feel like with like the American music industry, there's of course I am not a music anything, so take everything I say with a
Yeah,
grain of salt. But I think that the American music industry compared to the K-pop one, there's a lot less personalization in the way that these artists are portrayed, right? There's less like in Korea, there's reality TV shows, there's game shows, there's like so much material and variety shows where these K-pop stars can come on and really seem like they're real people. They're showing their real personalities. They have so many of these fan meets and like talking to people online. There's like things like V Live nowadays where it seems like the K-pop idol is speaking directly to you. And so I think in the American music industry, there's less personalization. There's less of that like person to person contact. But in Korea, it really can seem like, wow, like these people understand me or like I know them and like they're like my family and they build this sort of loyalty. And you really do kind of end up almost falling in love with these characters in a way, of course, and these people. And so it's less about their music and it's really kind of digging into, yeah, just like them as people and how you want to support them and support your favorite members and like they
wow.
do so well with building like fan community around these K-pop idols that you feel like you're a part of a collective and a community, which everyone wants when they're a teenager, right? When you're feeling like lost and confused and like no one understands you, suddenly join this community where everyone understands you and like everyone gets what you're talking about and everyone is obsessed with the same thing. So it almost puts you in like a tribe of some sorts and like really gets into the psychology of people wanting to connect and wanting to be a part of something.
I see. Interesting.
Mhm.
Wow. So let's now dive back a little bit. So so
Yeah.
with ACN, etc., what do you really focus on now? Because I'm sure it has matured now, but what
Mhm.
is going on now with the ACN?
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. So I think ACN, oh, ACN, man, it's one of those projects where I think I had very little idea of what I was jumping into for sure. And for a really long time, I was confused as to what I wanted to do with it because there's a lot of conflicting viewpoints of people being like, oh, let's, like this is like a great business idea. Let's like make money off of it. Or, oh, this is just a community platform. I want to stay with people. Like, oh, I want, more direction. I want less direction. I kind of felt very pulled and a lot of confusion on my part of like, oh, I'm just a 21-year-old college student. I don't have pull. I don't have, power. Like, what can I provide to this community and what can I make it that it could best serve the people? And so I think at this point, to be very frank, like we're kind of, yeah, just letting it ride for now, kind of letting it exist as it is and not pushing for anything further at the moment. Because I think me and my team, and also myself, as I'm transitioning out of college, as I'm transitioning to full time work, I want to be sure that I am at a place where I know if I decide to do something with ACN that I can follow through with it and that I can be, yeah, fully present for it. And I think at this moment in my personal life and like, with all the stuff that happened with ACN in the past, that's currently not what I can do. But I am hoping to continue with ACN, hoping to continue building it out, hoping to continue making it into a platform where people can, yeah, find each other, connect, find networks, opportunities, exactly what that looks like, I'm not sure yet, but I definitely still want to keep going with it if I can.
You mentioned there are a lot of conflicting viewpoints. I'm curious about how do you actually deal with that.
Yeah, that's very much a struggle. I am a people pleaser in a way. It's one of my big flaws, but I don't like disappointing people. You know, I hear them and I understand totally where everyone's coming from, right? And I can totally see where, like, yes, that's a good idea, and yes, this is a good idea, and yes, that's a good idea. But at the end of the day, there does come a point where you have to think like, you know, yes, like these are what all these other people want, but what do I want, right? And what do the people want? What do most people in ACN want? And what has been most helpful to most people in ACN? Um, and so it's definitely not an easy decision, definitely not something where you can just make a decision like that and everyone's going to go along with it. Not everyone's going to be happy. But I think with all these conflicts, it's just good to remember that every single person's point of view, even if it is like the complete opposite of your own, is still their vision of what the best interest for ACN is. Like, you know, if you look at all these conflicts as just, oh, disagreements, then it gets very frazzling. But when you look at it like, oh no, you know, all of us are just trying to make ACN the best that it can be in all of our own different ways. And, you know, some of those ways will never come into fruition, but it doesn't mean that it's a bad idea. So yeah, just trying to balance how to disagree in a very, what's the word? Disagree nicely, you know, agree to disagree in a way. Realize that we're all in it for ACN anyway. So no matter what it's about, you know, it's all for the people. So
Cool. Well, so I'm also curious, based on your involvement with ACN, have you noticed like what are typical like demographics? Of course, Asian, but in terms of age range that's actually in the group?
yeah, for sure. So from what I've seen right now, and Facebook does give us a little bit of the demographics, but we don't have any like set census right now. It does seem our main age range is from 18 to 30, and so kind of in the college, just graduated, trying to enter into the creative field area. We do have a lot of people that are obviously like graphic designers and, you know, full-time creatives. So we also have a ton of people that are like, I'm just, you know, not, I don't really know what I'm doing. Maybe they're like business people or they're engineers or doctors or whatever, and they're trying to enter into the field now, now that they found this community and they're like, hey, you know, I've always wanted to do X, Y, and Z. How can I start that? There's definitely, I think for ACN, as we've seen it grow, it's less of like it is still a professional network, but it's less of like, oh, like long time industry professionals that are networking with each other. And I think it's more a smaller grassroots movement type of creatives that are just starting out on their journeys, which I personally like, which I personally am enamored with either way. So I really love seeing this sort of younger, vibrant movement of people that aren't settled, that don't have, you know, 30-year careers behind them, but that are trying to enter into this market now and really, yeah, just testing it out and seeing how they can make an impact in that way. Mhm.
Cool. So
Mostly,
also go on.
oh, sorry, mostly from the US, Australia, and then big spread out everywhere else.
Got it. US and Australia. No, not UK?
I think there's a bit of a community there and in Paris as well. But definitely most of the focus has been in the US.
Wow, US and Australia. I mean,
Mhm.
the Asian subtle Asian traits from Australia, right? That's where it started from.
That's probably why, because
Yeah.
you got people from South Asian trades, and a lot of them is US, Australia.
Oh yeah. I mean, when I first when my friend first pulled me in, I was like, "What is this?" And I was like, "Oh, this is like very entertaining."
Oh yes, oh it's so good. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I was a top contributor for a while on Subtle Asian Trades. Like, I made so many memes. It was great. It was great.
Yeah. So I'm curious about what do you like? You mentioned about you love to do the different arts, but I'm curious about besides that, what else do you love to do in your life?
Yeah, for sure. So I oh, creative thing I forgot to mention. I love dance. I'm a huge
Oh,
dancer. Been dancing since seventh grade. I since coming to college, I've done a lot of K-pop dances, some hip hoppy things. I did belly dance for
whoa.
all, yes. So anything that will make my body move, I'm all about. I love dancing. I think it's a great way to like express yourself, all those things. I also love, what do I love? Hmm. I love puzzles. Like mind
What kind of
puzzles, jigsaw
interesting.
puzzles. I have one actually like right here in front of me that I've been working on. But love jigsaw puzzles. I love animals. I am a huge proponent also for like social justice and yeah, kind of striving for not just Asian Americans, but also different aspects of social justice. I think coming in from personal experience, from being someone that dealt with like mental health and dealt with being low income and being an Asian American, identity issues, all those sort of things, I found myself to be quite invested in social impact and politics and all those sort of things. So I'm trying to find more ways to get myself involved in that way.
Oh, interesting. Wow, cool. And then, so just got curious for when you're managing the ACN. I know for a fact, kind of talked about it already, where it's hard to actually get different viewpoints and then commitment, the focus. Um, I'm curious now, how do you envision now you're going to, workforce? Do you envision balancing ACN with yourself as well? What some of the past like good stuff and cool stuff that's been happening at ACN?
Yeah, for sure. So I think with ACN, something I realized was there was a ton of pressure that I was placing on myself. It really wasn't, mostly wasn't other people being like, oh, Hanju, you need to do this or you need to be better at this. It was really my own perfectionism, it was my own self consciousness and my own insecurities that was pushing me to be someone different than what I was. Like, oh my God, Hanju, why are you not better at this? Why are you not making money? Why are you not, this boss lady that can do everything? And like, why are you not spending 20 hours a day on ACN? And just,
Uh,
I kind of let myself fall into that a lot, right? Which is a really easy trap to fall into, particularly for kids that are always like academically inclined and always like, oh, you're the best at everything, blah, blah, blah. So I think that perfectionism bled into ACN a lot. So for myself, ACN has actually been one of those like very big challenges, but also in a way like a big, very big wake up call, where I looked at myself and I was like, like yes, ACN is amazing and yes, ACN is great, but also I should not burn myself up just so ACN can live in a way. You know, yes, of course I was the one that made it, but that doesn't mean that I need to be there all the time or that, I have to be there or else it's gonna fall apart. That I just had to learn to let go a lot, which I think is something I want to carry with me to the workforce in my own job, but of course with ACN as well and other projects that I take on. I yeah, learned to kind of balance that need to produce and that need to do something and that need to be productive, which I think is very toxic, it's
uh,
constant need to do things right. Like that's super toxic to human everything, to be honest. So trying to be a more balanced person, trying to forgive myself, trying to be more gentle with myself and my own limitations as a person. But in terms of good things with ACN, I think, yeah, all those pressures really blinded me to how good ACN has been. But when I really think about it, I'm like, wow, yeah, like when ACN first got started, and even to this day, like I still always get messages from people that are like, Hanju, I found all my friends from ACN. Or they're like, yo, I was able to start my music career because of ACN. I was able to start an agency because of ACN. I was able to start a magazine because of ACN. I found
oh.
people that did me. I found a boyfriend through ACN. Don't know what my, but that's and like, where's my boyfriend? But no, but yeah, and so I think particularly a really good memory I have. So last year spring break during my junior year, I decided to book a ticket to New York and just like go. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go to just go and see what happens. And I literally stayed with like a different ACN person every single night. They like took me out for food. They like bought me drinks and like showed me around, and it was crazy to see because so many of these people that I had never met outside of like a Facebook message were like all friends with each other through ACN, and they had met each other through ACN, which was mind blowing to me. Just completely like, this is actually impacting real people. Like, what? And so I think it was, yeah, definitely the biggest positives I've seen through ACN. It might not be millions of dollars or whatever, but it's really those human connections and community and finding like-minded people and not feeling like you're the only person trying to be an Asian creative in the world.
Interesting. So, so obviously something happened with the Asian creative. So it happened with the original group, the subtle Asian traits, but where the Asian was you can say underserved. So now with like the movies to go, what's it called, the Crazy Rich Asian, all these I think this just came out last year or two, right? And then I'm curious about you mentioned about what is it that seems to be underserved in the Asian creative community?
Mm, for sure, yeah. I think that within the
Just what
Asian creative,
just within ACN. I don't think you might know the area, but just within ACN, what have you noticed that has been a little bit underserved? People complain about, people have show frustration, that kind of things.
yeah, sure. I think a big thing that has been weighing on my heart for a very, very long time since the beginning has always been this kind of Asia is a huge continent, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like 60% of the world's population, just the Asian dystopia is even bigger than that, just giant, like every reach, every continent, every place it can be. And I think that there's such a want to distill the Asian narrative into a very small box of just like, oh, typically East Asian, typically very smart, typically, parents push you away from the creatives or like, oh, model minority, like all those sort of things. And I think that that narrative is something that I pushed a lot myself because that's what I was used to and that's what I've seen. But since starting ACN, I'm able to be exposed to so many different narratives, so many different people that are not East Asian, that didn't come from high, that also came from low income backgrounds like myself, that didn't have, these like high academic achievings, people that actually like parents do support them going into creatives, or people that um, really were like almost like kicked out of the house or like really disowned for being a creative, and like all these very different nuanced stories that I had personally never heard of before. Um, and I think I really value a lot, and I wish that in ACN, but also in like mainstream media and like mainstream as well, could be understood is that the Asian narrative, the Asian creative narrative is not just one story. It's not just, oh, X, Y, and Z, very pretty picture of what an Asian looks like, but there is so many complexities, so many nuances, so many layers, depending on, oh, were you born in Asia versus born here? Were you born Australia, America, UK, wherever? Are you Korean, Chinese, Filipino, Indian? Like, it just keeps building on itself. And so I hope to see more diversity, which is funny to say because, Asian creative is all about diversity, but I hope to see diversity of thought in what an Asian can be, what an Asian creative can be, and what that story looks like. Mhm.
Cool. Sounds good. So I think normally I ask a question, but in this case, I don't think I'm going to. I just want to
Okay.
summarize everything we talked about.
Mhm.
So first is we talked a lot from the Asian culture, the measure of success with financial and creative, as well talk about K-pop, how K-pop actually, they don't just build products, but they also build a connection, a personalized connection with each of their fans, which becomes the loyal contributors to their products, right?
Mhm.
And then you mentioned about that ACNs, the main groups are between 18 and 30, meaningful in the US and Australia, so mainly Asian Americans, with a
Mhm.
couple of or an Asian Australian, and a couple of the other ones are in other countries. And then you mentioned a lot about how many people actually found the success of network within ACN, such as starting their own companies, creating agencies, as well as finding significant others. And you notice that a lot of nuances that's really not really captured, but it's captured in the ACN is the differences within each Asian community in the creative space.
Mhm.
So, am I missing anything that you'd like to add?
Um, hmm. Yeah, I think I just wanted to build a little bit on like that productivity and that kind of need to create thing that I was talking about before with ACN, because I think I also see that a lot in the creative community itself as a whole. It's this feeling that, oh, if I'm not drawing constantly, if I'm not taking more photos, if I'm not reaching out more, if I'm not constantly creating music, if I'm not, always reaching out for new idea to build my portfolio and like this constant drive to create and to produce, then I'm gonna fail, then I'm not gonna make money, then I'm gonna be, living in a cardboard box for the rest of my life. Like there's so much of this, I think, anxiety and this, yeah, just this anxiety that's created by this like perfectionism that's apparent in our culture, but also in American society. And just by living in these two different cultures of constantly wanting to produce and wanting to do. Um, yeah, and I just wanted to speak into that a little bit because I am a victim of that for sure, and it's something I'm still trying to kind of erase from my mind.
Uh-huh.
I really hope that we can, in the creative community as well, kind of instill a sense of more self-care and rest and like taking breaks and like moderation and really being able to of course, yes, push yourself, work hard, work for that bread, like get that bread, let's like work hard, all those sort of things. Like I'm all about it, but also realizing like we're people with limitations and there's only so much that we can do in a day. And nothing is worth burning yourself out for, nothing is worth jeopardizing your mental health for, like nothing is worth sleeping 2 hours a day for sure. And yeah, I know this isn't something I push super hard in ACN, but I think it's something I care a lot about is taking breaks, taking care of yourself, realizing that this body and this mind are things that we only have one of and we can't replace. So as much as we are trying to strive in this society and succeed and make our dreams come true, that we shouldn't forget that we also really need to take care of ourselves. Mm.
Cool. Actually, I did an episode in the season 1 with a psychologist. It's about
Yeah.
managing like negative thoughts and suicidal thoughts. Not saying that you're suicidal, definitely not. But if you're, but it definitely might be an interesting one to look over. It's the season 1, episode 5 with a psychologist or I think a psychiatrist that was focusing on these type of things you're just mentioning.
Oh no, for sure. I would love that. Yeah, because I think especially in this day and age of like kind of taking those things as not jokes necessarily, but it's are you part of the group subtle depressed people traits?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, it's a very strange group, but it's like called subtle depressed people traits, and basically it's just a bunch of people like kind of talking about things that are like sad about life and like mental health, sort of joking meme kind of way. And I'm part of it, and I think yes, it's like funny, and yes, of course, it's good to joke around and like make humor be a part of like lightening up the mood and like not taking things too seriously. And I'm all about that. I love memes, right? But I think there's also a certain point where like you have to like pause and be like, wait, like this isn't healthy. How can I take care of myself? How can I go through my day without constantly being in anxiety, constantly being sad, constantly being tired, sleeping 2 hours a night, drinking 10 cups of coffee a day? Like I see it way too much in my college. I see it a lot.
Whoa.
And so I hope that yeah, people could maybe take steps to take care of themselves a little bit better.
Cool. Sounds good. Yeah, I just want to last thing close out is how can people reach you if they want to contact you?
Yeah, for sure. So my Facebook is always open. If you go on the ACN Facebook page and you just look at the admins, like I'm one of them, click on me, DM me at any point. I will try to respond, but I get a lot of messages, so that might not be the best way. I also have an email address that I think I gave to you. It's just my full name, nothing else, just hanjuseo@woostel.edu, which is my school email. So that's the one I check the most. Definitely reach out through there. Yes, and I am always down to talk about anything. Yeah, it could be related to ACN, it could be related to literally anything. I'm down to talk. So
Cool. So it seems like the I think with the social media, internet, everything, the younger generation are taking over. It's like college student right now, starting ACN, creating a bunch of network community.
yeah, no, I think it's interesting how we've been able to take advantage of these resources. It does worry me though. I kind of feel like an old lady whenever I look at my little brother, like on the internet, like 24/7, and like, all these kids kind of growing up with the internet because I grew up without it for most of my childhood. Yeah, makes me kind of worried, but at least through ACN, I've seen a lot of positive efforts. So I'm hoping maybe in the future, it doesn't look as bleak as we all think it is.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Hanju. I appreciate it.
Yes, of course. Alrighty. Thank you so much for having me.